to remain very closely invested, but we also have to help ourselves in Northern Ireland, and a very clear steer: the Assembly and the Executive need to be restored, and restored quickly, so we can actually ensure we do the basics to attract that investment. It's out there for us, but unless we get our act together, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and Colin, from the SDLP, of course, the party of John Hume, who was instrumental in the Good Friday Agreement. What did you hear from Joe Biden today when he was speaking to those assembled?
Well, he was very clear, and he was clear in the meetings that the party leaders had beforehand. There's big opportunities here for American investment. The United States wants to support our peace process and create a prosperity process, but we need political stability. You know, we need an assembly. We need the DUP to go back into government. It's pretty much obvious. It's there for the taking. I don't know how anybody could look this gift horse in the mouth. You know, I think the DUP now need to get on with it. The deal between Europe and Britain is done. It's actually a good deal. It allows us to trade into both markets. The Americans want to help us. Let's get on with it.
I mean, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson just a short while ago said that the deal does not allow that trade across the Irish Sea. Why is he wrong?
Well, I think he's very wrong, actually. Any part of Great Britain would give their right arm, as somebody said in the House of Commons not so long ago, to have the access that we have to both markets. Look, Brexit's not good. It's not good for anybody. I'll continue to make that argument. But in a bad Brexit, this is a very good outcome, actually, for Northern Ireland. We have an opportunity to create jobs. We have an American president offering to help us bring jobs outside of the United States. Is there any other country in the world where they're doing that? And Geoffrey Donaldson doesn't see that's a big opportunity. It's a huge opportunity.
Now, in that meeting that you had with President Biden, what did he say about returning power sharing? What kind of language did he use?
Well, he was very clear that there's a massive economic opportunity. I reminded him that John Hume used to say that the best peace process is a job, and he agreed with that. But he also was clear too that we needed political stability, and we've got one half of the story here. We have the economic opportunity, but without political stability, it'll be difficult to create jobs, and it should not be very difficult to do this.
And the reaction from those in the room, then, I mean, how did they feel once they hear that sort of thing?
Well, they're very enthusiastic. I mean, you had many of the job creators in Northern Ireland who were there. It's also important to note that Joe Kennedy, the Northern Ireland envoy from President Biden, is also here on the visit. He's staying on in Belfast for a few days as well. So he's now going to be the point man in trying to make this investment happening. There's going to be an investment conference taking place in the autumn, hosted by the UK government. But none of this will happen unless we have an assembly, unless we can invest in skills, ensure we invest in people, and have the basics right so we can actually attract that investment. And it really behoves Geoffrey Donaldson to get back to work. If he claims to be a unionist, the only way that the union works is through making Northern Ireland work, and that requires the Assembly and the Executive. He's simply not grasping that logic. I
mean, is it for him to go back to work, or as he sees it, for the Prime Minister and Ursula von der Leyen to go back to work?
Well, they've been at work. The Windsor Framework is now a done deal. It's been ratified by both the UK Parliament and the European Union. There may well be some more detailed operational guidance to come, but the fundamentals are now in place. It's never going to be a perfect situation for us in Northern Ireland because Brexit doesn't allow a perfect outcome, but we have to make the best of it, and this is the best and only offering we're going to have to work our way through Brexit. And of course, it also gives us that opportunity from the dual market access, but we have to attract the investment based upon that offering. But unless we get our act together, it's not going to happen.
And Colin, in that meeting with the President, when he talks about this kind of inward investment, was there any sense that you can have this investment when, but this investment's only there, you know, if the power sharing doesn't return? Well,
I think he's clear, and the American administration are clear that they want to support us anyway, and that's why he's appointed Joe Kennedy as the economic envoy. But I think what they're saying very clearly is that to make the best of this opportunity, you have to have political stability and the institutions working. I think that's kind of obvious anyway. And even set all that aside, what are we saying to the people who are languishing on hospital waiting lists? I mean, our health service would make a third world country blush at the minute. And we're not saying that this can all be solved overnight by having an assembly, but we should be in there trying to fix it. And, you know, they're the people we should be thinking about as well. And when the DUP say they're not going into government over some technical aspect of a trading deal, I just think people think they're mad.
Right. I mean, it's worth, I think, as well, following what we heard from the President, reflecting on, you know, the 25 years of the passage the Belfast Good Friday Agreement was signed and the 25 years or the future for the region. President Biden said it could be a future filled with prosperity, but there are things in the way of that prosperity right now, as many would see it.
Yeah, but this is a real pivot point. I mean, we can look back and reflect on 25 years of achievements, and despite the fact we don't have an assembly, a lot has happened to transform Northern Ireland, including this wonderful new campus of Ulster University. But GFA 26 doesn't have the same ring as GFA 25, so this is now our moment to really capitalise upon what we've achieved, but to look forward and try to get that investment to ensure that we grow our economy and also ensure that we share the proceeds much more evenly across our people.
And isn't the lesson as well of the Good Friday Agreement that political leaders sometimes have to make really tough choices to try and make sure that the people, those that elect them, actually get the opportunities that they deserve?
Yeah, well, 25 years ago, political leaders made far more difficult choices than we're being asked to make today. It's a very easy choice to make. We're all very, grateful for the 25 years of peace that we've had. It's been a remarkable achievement. But I think my generation and generations that are coming after are now saying, what's next? Yes, we need, more Stormont, we need the place working, we need all of that. But, there are large areas of Northern Ireland that have been left behind. And there are many people now who are thinking about the future and a different kind of constitutional setup. And that's a conversation that's happening as well. All of this needs to be happening with reconciliation at its heart and bringing people back together and getting people jobs and getting our public sector working. But this is a very moving conversation now, and I think it would be a mistake for people like the DUP to stay out of it.
I mean, just final thoughts actually from both of you, just quickly as well. Can you put a time frame on when we might see power sharing restored?
Well, I think it can be restored tomorrow if people want to do that. I think it will be restored this year because, frankly, the DP have nowhere else to go.
Tomorrow morning would be good, but that's over to Jeffrey. I've been wrong in predicting common sense coming from the DUP many times before, but hopefully they'll change.
Okay, Colin Eastwood, leader of the SLP, and Stephen Farry, deputy leader of the Alliance Party. Do thank you for your time this afternoon. All right, that's all from the team here in Belfast, as we've heard President Joe Biden reiterating the US support for peace here in Northern Ireland. I'm going to throw you over to my colleague Gillian Joseph in Dublin.